Hi, this is Bonnie Fekowitz, and I'm reporting on my project, which is standardization of contracted non-employed clinical staff for St. Joseph Hospital in 2018. We have a problem at St. Joseph, which has recently been identified, and it is the onboarding of students and non-employed providers. They come in through a variety of portals and unfortunately receive inconsistent education. This puts the organization at risk in that perhaps some of the regulatory requirements have not been met. Our current data unfortunately demonstrates this. No one at St. Joseph Hospital comes to work each day to fail at providing safe work and understanding and training for either patients or employees, but unfortunately, this is what's happened. On my abstract and introductory statements, we're a Catholic ministry. We're providing healing and caring for the whole person in service to all our communities. The current orientation process is varied, placing patients and employees possibly at risk of non-compliance. A process and workflow need to be created and written into policies outlining the core educational requirements, who's going to provide them and how will they be available, and more importantly, what's the time frame for me to complete them. The purpose of this project is to identify and evaluate all clinical departments who orient these staffs. The project ultimately is reflective of our strategic goal for people retention. Any of those of us who have been hired, we know we look for that smooth onboarding process, that we've been provided the education and tools so that we can begin our jobs. When this does not happen, it creates a very weak foundation for our sustainability at that organization. So we're trying to eliminate that. Travel nurses, non-employed providers, and even student nurses, we hope to convert to full-time employees. So we're investing on our doorstep, so to speak, so that we can convert these people into the high-quality people we want. Addressing non-clinical staff will not be in the scope of this project, nor will long-term care facilities that our system currently oversees. Some stakeholders, our senior leadership for sure, quality, risk and compliance, finance, IT, human resources, frontline staff, middle management, as well as education. Our aim statement: by creating a standard core orientation for non-all-employed contracted staff, students, 100% of these staffs will meet regulatory requirements by December of 2018. We must do this. This will allow St. Joseph Hospital to become an employer of choice by developing and retaining skilled, safe, and engaged employees as a strategic plan. This is our strategic plan. Obviously, our foundation is expanding our ministry. That's our basic everyday. We hope to create more for our community members. On top of our foundation are 4 pillars: people, quality, performance, growth, and transformation. You'll see that red arrow is we hope to attract, develop, and retain superior teams, and so they understand this is the best place to work, and we have a high engagement. We have our vision, values, and mission above us, and at the pinnacle of our pyramid is always the patients, and for the long-term care facility, the rest. Our current available knowledge, sadly, is showing that we have 72 travel nurses, 12 students, and 3 locum providers that all came in through a variety of onboarding processes. Some of them read a handbook, some of them were assigned modules, some of them spent 12 hours with an RN educator, but not everyone did. This is a reflection of the gap. We recently discovered last month that several people assumed the travel nurses were signing HIPAA agreement statements, and in fact they had not. We've corrected that process, went back and had all our current employees sign them, but that was a very high-risk area. We also discovered only 75% of travelers being brought in were assigned the OSHA hazardous waste handling materials modules. So we need to get a handle on this and have it centralized and compliant. The orientation should follow the hospital and the unit, emergency procedures, nursing services or ancillary services, procedures and policies, and safety policies and procedures. This is dictated by the mothership, as I like to refer to it, as CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. As an acute care hospital, we have to follow the conditions of participation, and every employed and non-employed staff must be trained, and we must be able to demonstrate this. The next is the plan. This QI project will support the evaluation in current and future state for all contracted non-employed student staffs using the PDSA and A3 methods. I'll describe the A3 method in the next slide. They'll have the training and education to work here to reduce the risks of personal injury or patient injury. This will meet our accrediting bureaus, and we want to have these people see that we are a very compliant, high-functioning organization. Ultimately, once we roll out the standardized orientation handbook and learning modules online, we will distribute this to the other 2 acute care hospitals and all ancillary staffs, and then move on to the long-term care facilities once we get their regulated. The methods to do this is a Plan, Do, Study, Act. Dr. Deming created ways to ensure that we're compliant. We must plan, and that is understanding stakeholders, risks, timelines, resources necessary. It's pretty much a project management understanding. We want subject matter experts to create the training for radiology, for lab, for nursing, for infection prevention, not just have the education department assume we know what people need to learn. The learning must also be interactive, engaging. Think of fun tests or fun scenarios so that that knowledge is retained. We have to look at their competency scores. How well is our teaching doing? And do we offer it in a variety of methods? And is this doable? Because we don't want to assign modules that no one is able to accomplish in 30 days. And then look at the trends. How many people are falling out that are unable to work because we, as an organization, have not given them time to fulfill their compliance. What's an A3? An A3 is simply a piece of paper with a lot of boxes on it. It's really like a one-look project management tool. It defines the scope, the stakeholders, the costs, the timelines, obstacles, risks, benefits. So that's at our organization. We must do any project using that. We also will use the scientific approach of a This is the project team roles. I'm in the center at the top as a project manager. Either side of me, I need the leadership because this has to have buy-in at senior leadership because there will be time and cost attributed to this, but they must be reassured that they'll be able to sleep at night knowing that we're reducing the risk of current onboarding process. Other team members are lean advisors, risk, human resources, finance, IT support, ancillary services. Will even be more. Implementation currently we do not have a current state of all non-employed providers by human resources. create the modules that we talked about in the learning management system, which is that online learning system. We call it Covenant Learning Portal. We have a builder set up that's waiting for us to assign the materials. We want a policy created from leadership that it would be a 30-day mandatory education. The usage and expectation should be built into the first day orientation for all non-employed providers, that this is your expectation. And then day 2, allow them time to work on their online learning modules and have someone available. This is a different format, but similar to a fishbone: people, equipment, locations, outside services, methods, and materials. It's a way to keep track of what resources we would need. The next is a milestone. Please keep in mind, I'm here in the pink, just beginning. This is the initial work group meeting for subject matter experts, and then identify current state, implement the new training in the first 30-day period to see how many are compliant. This is the study. We would be running reports to see how many people have completed their competencies. This can be done daily and weekly, needs to be reported to senior leadership. Overdue staff can be notified by email by the system, so no excuses that it's not done. Last is act and adjust. I always like to put in there because I seldom have a project that meets all the requirements initially. We have to usually do adjustments. So we'll report this to quality as well as patient safety, report to the managers, and personally do internal audits to see, are we meeting all the regulatory needs. Next page are ethical considerations, difference of learning styles. This is more change. We just implemented EPIC and EHR on May 13th, so this is very raw for us. We've had an 80% change in senior leadership, so it's getting to know these new people and know where we need to be. And we have a staff turnover rate higher than 27% currently. Leaders may interpret this change as a threat to their previous orientation style, so we have to be sensitive to that and make sure there's no risk to an employee. If we don't do anything, there is a potential risk to them. This is an example of what an A3 strategic level looks like. This is a A3 problem-solving level, which is where I'm working at. At the very bottom, you can see training, inventory, fishbone, 5 whys, project plan, and things like that. The conclusion: continuing in this current state is not an option. The greatest challenge is motivating leaders to accept and embrace more change. Maintain leadership dignity through just culture thinking that the lack of regulatory onboarding was an organizational failure of educating leaders. Time is the most valuable resource, so acquiring time will be the greatest obstacle, and doing something is the only option. An evidence-based practice indicates that meeting regulatory standards keeps patients and staff safe, which meets one of the 6 IOM's aims: safe patient care.